We have a problem, Batman. Gotham needs you again.
Umbrella Corporation is a business that makes money by creating diseases and selling the cures. They dress up genocide as medical research and call biological weapons pharmaceutical breakthroughs. Their TV virus turns people into monsters, but their real infection is greed. They spread it through boardrooms and government contracts until entire nations become willing accomplices to human extinction. The corporate structure gives them perfect cover. Legitimate pharmaceutical sales fund illegal bioweapons research. Public health contracts provide access to test subjects, and government partnerships offer legal protection from prosecution. Every press release about helping humanity masks a dozen projects designed to destroy it. They have weaponized capitalism itself, turning the profit motive into a delivery system for apocalypse. The contingency protocol must account for an enemy that hides behind lawyers and lobbyists while developing viruses that could end human civilization. They are not criminals. They are extinction dressed as innovation, wearing suits and speaking in quarterly earnings reports. The infiltration approach requires getting inside their organization at multiple levels to understand how they really operate. Umbrella runs like a pyramid. The bottom levels think they work for a normal pharmaceutical company. The middle layers know some dark secrets but stay quiet for their paychecks. And only the top tier understands they're building weapons to destroy the world. The strategy involves placing undercover operatives at different corporate levels. Lab technicians who can document illegal experiments, accountants who can trace money flows to black projects, executives who can access board meeting discussions about bioweapons deployment. Each asset must be carefully selected and extensively trained to maintain their cover while gathering evidence of crimes. The information gathering focuses on identifying key facilities, mapping command structures, documenting illegal activities, and most importantly, locating samples of their biological weapons before they can be deployed. This requires patience and careful coordination to avoid detection while building a complete picture of their operations. Financial warfare targets their greatest weakness. Everything they do costs enormous amounts of money. Their bioweapons research burns through billions in equipment, facilities, personnel, and cover-up operations. The strategy involves attacking their revenue streams through coordinated market manipulation, exposing their illegal activities to investors, and pressuring governments to cancel lucrative contracts. This includes releasing evidence of their crimes during earnings announcements to crash their stock price, convincing pharmaceutical partners to break business relationships, and documenting their liability exposure to make their insurance costs skyrocket. When their illegal research becomes more expensive than their legitimate business, when their cover-up costs exceed their profits, when their stock becomes worthless, their board will face a choice between bankruptcy and abandoning bioweapons development. The beauty of this approach is that it uses their own greed against them, making virtue profitable and evil financially impossible. Physical destruction of their research facilities requires simultaneous strikes to prevent them from moving dangerous materials to backup locations. Their labs are designed to keep people out, not to safely contain biological disasters if security is breached from within. The tactical approach involves identifying structural weaknesses in their containment systems, developing methods to destroy viral samples without environmental release, and ensuring facility destruction doesn't create the catastrophe it's meant to prevent. This requires specialized equipment for handling biological hazards, coordination with expert teams for safe disposal of dangerous materials, and multiple backup plans for every possible containment failure. The timing must be perfect. Destroy their research before deployment, but not in ways that accidentally release weaponized viruses into the environment. Each facility strike carries the risk that failure means potential human extinction, rather than just mission failure. Personnel elimination focuses on the scientists who create their weapons and the executives who deploy them. These individuals carry knowledge that makes them walking weapons of mass destruction, information about viral modification, production methods, and deployment strategies that could be used by other organizations. The strategy involves comprehensive identification of key personnel across all levels: research scientists, security directors, board members, government liaisons. Some may be candidates for turning, researchers who joined unknowingly and might cooperate when shown evidence of their employer's true nature. Others represent such extreme security risks that permanent solutions become necessary. The approach includes developing detailed profiles of each target, mapping their personal relationships for leverage points, and planning for scenarios where they attempt to flee. With critical information or biological samples, their knowledge dies with them, or it spreads to create new umbrella corporations around the world. Information warfare exploits their dependence on secrecy and public legitimacy to maintain operations and government protection. Their business model requires hiding illegal activities while their legitimate operations generate revenue and political support. The strategy involves systematic exposure of their crimes through coordinated intelligence releases, documentation of their involvement in biological disasters, and presentation of evidence that cannot be dismissed or covered up. This requires gathering bulletproof evidence, developing secure communication channels that cannot be intercepted, and timing revelations to maximize impact while minimizing their ability to respond through legal or violent countermeasures. The information campaign must survive their inevitable attempts at suppression, denial, and character assassination of sources. When the truth becomes undeniable, when their government protectors abandon them, when their corporate shield crumbles, only then will they face real consequences for their crimes. What do you think, Alfred?
Master Bruce, you're planning to destroy an organization that employs thousands of innocent people, researchers who think they're developing medicine, security guards protecting what they believe are legitimate facilities, administrators processing normal business transactions. While Umbrella's leadership is undoubtedly criminal, your approach risks harming more innocent people than it saves. Perhaps the solution isn't total destruction, but surgical removal of the criminal elements while preserving the legitimate pharmaceutical research that could actually help humanity. Sometimes the most strategic victory is transformation rather than elimination, proving that even corrupt organizations can be redeemed if their criminal leadership is replaced with ethical oversight. The goal should be justice for the guilty, not punishment for the unwitting.
Alfred's point forces a complete rethinking of the operational approach. The contingency must include extensive civilian protection measures, careful screening to separate knowing participants from unwitting accomplices, and strategies for preserving legitimate research while eliminating bioweapons programs. This requires developing methods to extract innocent employees before facilities are compromised, creating protection programs for scientists willing to testify about illegal activities, and ensuring that justice targets the guilty without destroying the innocent. The approach shifts from total warfare to surgical strikes that remove criminal leadership while preserving valuable resources that can be redirected toward legitimate purposes. This means accepting that parts of Umbrella might be salvageable. Their medical research, manufacturing capabilities, distribution networks if separated from bioweapons programs and placed under proper oversight. The goal becomes rehabilitation rather than elimination, proving that even the most corrupt organizations can be saved if their criminal elements are removed with sufficient precision. Government corruption represents both the biggest obstacle and the most important target in any successful operation against Umbrella. Their influence reaches deep into military, intelligence, and regulatory agencies through contracts, bribes, and employment deals that create conflicts of interest at every level. And the strategy requires identifying which officials are compromised versus those who simply don't know the truth, developing evidence packages that can convince honest authorities to take action, and building international cooperation that can overcome their political influence. This includes working with whistleblowers inside government agencies, supporting investigations by uncorrupted officials, and creating public pressure that makes continued protection of Umbrella politically impossible. The approach must account for officials who aren't just influenced by Umbrella, but are active participants in their crimes. requiring legal action against public servants who have betrayed their oaths in service of corporate interests. Defense preparation requires developing protection against biological weapons that don't exist yet, but will if Umbrella's research continues. Their viral programs constantly evolve, creating new threats faster than traditional medicine can respond. The defensive strategy involves establishing independent research focused on countermeasures, creating early warning systems that can detect biological attacks before they spread, and developing broad treatments that can address multiple viral threats simultaneously. This requires working with legitimate research institutions, maintaining security to prevent defensive research from being stolen, and having contingency plans for scenarios where biological attacks occur. Despite prevention efforts, the research must be conducted with absolute ethical oversight to ensure that developing defenses doesn't accidentally create new weapons. The final protocol acknowledges that Umbrella Corporation represents evil that has learned to hide behind the structures of civilization while working to destroy civilization for profit. Their defeat requires not just winning battles, but changing the systems that allow such organizations to exist. This means strengthening oversight of biological research, closing legal loopholes that permit corporate crimes against humanity, and creating accountability that makes executives personally responsible for their company's actions, regardless of legal protections. The contingency serves as both battle plan and blueprint for reform, both immediate response and long-term prevention, because destroying Umbrella isn't enough if other companies can follow their model with better security and more sophisticated cover stories. The real victory requires proving that no amount of money or political influence can protect those who trade human survival for corporate profit. That civilization itself will turn against any organization that threatens the species for shareholder value. When their executives stand trial for crimes against humanity, when their facilities serve legitimate medicine, when their weapons are destroyed and victims compensated, only then will the mission be complete, because in the end, some sins are too great for any corporation to survive, and some crimes demand not just punishment, but the complete transformation of the systems that made them possible.